Cool. Let's talk about some email. So how many of you guys know who SendGrid is? Just show of hands. About like 40%. Cool. So just to give you guys some context, we've sent already over 400 billion emails. We do almost 20 billion emails a month. So this is just a little bit of like how our email volume has been growing, and I hope to share some really relevant information for you guys, regardless of the stage and size of your company today. So I like context, so just to provide you a little bit of context in terms of where we were. This is when we raised our seed round. This is our A round, B round. We raised some debt, and then our Series C. I joined the company about here, so a little bit before the Series B, so I was there through the entire growth period. So, when we were 20 people, now we're about almost 300 people. We're very fortunate to be able to help grow most of these companies. So all of these guys that you're seeing here on the slides, pieces of software that you use on a daily basis, actually started with us when they were very, very small. So we're here today to talk about strategies and growth, and we got some interesting examples to share with you guys. So this is about 3.5 years of email experience condensed in 20 minutes. And then why is it that email volume keeps going up, right? Everybody hates email. It's just not something necessarily sexy. But it's because it fucking works. And there's a lot of data to actually prove that, right? And people actually, they do not hate it as much as you'd think. So this was an analysis done by Return Path on Q4 last year for the holiday season. They took a look at about 3.7 billion emails across 2 million subscribers. And everybody was people were happy about receiving relevant content. The right message, right content, right time did not really upset them, right? Spam and poor marketing is something that upsets customers. The average return on investment on email is about 222%, and this is across looking at over 200 different providers and over 25,000 different brands. It's actually 40 times more stickier than social media, which I find it fascinating, because if you can actually convert a customer through email, that customer has a much higher lifetime value. The also interesting thing is that 91% of us check our email on a daily basis, and it's very hard to find such a large target audience of 3.9 billion people, right? It's going to get by 2017, but still, it's a pretty sizable audience. So the other interesting aspect, and I think Josh touched this from Greylock earlier in the morning about platforms, and I was actually happy to see some of the points that he made, because we're going to talk about them here today. So email equals freedom, right? When you have an email list, you are not dependable on another platform. You own that list. You can actually migrate it from one provider to another provider, but it's your list, it's your customers, right? So you don't end up having problems like what happened with Meerkat, right? 2 hours while the guys were at South by, they got shut down, or Twitter cutting data sift from a business perspective, or even Facebook, right, saying that they're changing their rules to actually improve things for their users. Whereas if you had a page that you work hard to have 5 million likes, the posts that you do there are not going to be as relevant as your ads. This is normal, right? Actually, if I was in any of these companies, I would have done the same. It's just business decisions. The platforms are not your friends, but your email list could be your friend. So in general, right, marketers have that really tempting situation when they're like, oh, the customer inbox, we're going to do this email campaign, and it's going to be awesome, right? It's like customer inbox is this empty nightclub, and I am Pitbull, and it's Saturday Night Papi. I'm like, yeah. The problem is that there are 500 Pitbulls out there, right? So everybody thinks that way, and everybody's excited. So you're not alone. So how do you actually come across with a relevant message? A very nice framework that we like to share usually is just to actually, map out your email strategy from several different angles. So the first thing that you want to look at is this matrix, right, on content versus frequency. So you got your basic newsletter or maybe a weekly summary of what's happening in your software that is based upon, volume of content that's there with a very regulated frequency. You're sending weekly emails, monthly newsletters, summary about the account of how much money you've made, or I don't know, how many people you met this week, things like that. The other thing that you want to think about, and you can do this as a simple exercise, just putting everything on Excel columns and listing out, is like, what are your core transactional emails, right? Those are things that they don't necessarily, I mean, it's good if they look great, but you need those to have a functional piece of software. Sign-up confirmations, password reminders, or any sort of system notification that triggers a message, right? If you're OkCupid, for instance, there's a match, you want to make sure that email gets sent out. And then on the upper right corner, right, like you got what you would call data-driven integrations and dripped campaigns. So depending on, you know, heavy segmentation, how long have we been talking to this customer, what has he clicked, where did he come from, you're going to be doing a lot of attribution, you know, through multiple different channels, and then you start messaging them. This is a very complete framework, right? Like if you can check all the boxes, you know, just make sure you don't check that one, which is you'll have no content, no volume, no frequency. And then some technical aspects that I think is very relevant to share with you guys is, number one, you know, separate transactional from marketing at the IP level. Lots of people don't do that, and then they grow, and then suddenly someone on the marketing side makes a mistake. People stop receiving receipts. It's just a good practice. You know, have clean IPs, and then do all these technical things that any good email provider should just be able to offer that out of the go. Those are just authentication things that the ISPs will take a look at. Another important thing in terms of like what are the latest things that Hotmail, Gmail, Yahoo, Comcast, AOL are looking from an engagement perspective, right? The first thing is that usually marketers get really frustrated, but they don't understand that inbox is not a global concept, right? What happens is that actually each inbox now is getting segmented from a granular level. So let's say you are not engaging with certain emails from a brand, but other people are. Maybe the emails to that specific user are not going to go to their inbox. And then, you know, but maybe you have 80% of inbox placement rate with Hotmail. Sometimes it happens and it's out of your control, especially if that user is not engaging with you and he doesn't unsubscribe and you don't do anything, so your email kind of sits dead like that. Lots of people think that opens actually count a lot. They don't count that much anymore, especially because we open a lot of our emails on our phones right now, and then the images are always auto-loaded. So your open metrics are getting kind of skewed as more people do email on mobile. Clicks, they do count, but things like moving an email to a folder, replying to a transactional email, that like counts a ton, and then all the basic authentication. And you know, the important thing is also to understand the email world is small. It's like after being in this industry for almost 4 years, I understood there are about 250 people in the world that run every single inbox here. You know, they're the postmasters of all these companies. There's this association called MOG, Messaging Anti-Abuse Working Group. If you think that like we are nerds, like you guys should go to that conference. And they're great people, and we work really close with them. But the market is also really small. So if you screw up, and you end up sending spam, lots of people will share that information on private forums, and then suddenly your domain, your brand is blacklisted. Like the worst case scenario that we've seen is like people can't even go through their corporate email, nothing gets delivered. So just be careful with that. And then, you know, going back to the upper right quadrant, right? Like you're like, hey, let's do a drip campaign. Everybody wants to do a drip campaign. It's very tempting. The problem is that you should really think about what you don't know and what you know before you actually do a drip campaign. Drip campaigns are for companies that are slightly more mature. And then let's just, you know, share a couple of examples to you guys. So this is just, you know, follow up for an account. It's a service that I signed up, I think, a couple of days ago called Glip. And I received this email, and I just wasn't even sure. I was just testing it out. I think it's a competitor to Slack. The product looks great. But the email for me, it came across with like lots of different information, right? So we had a footer there to follow the CAN-SPAM law. It also already had a code for me to get a discount. And then it said, hey, Pedro, I am the CEO. I want to get in touch. And for me, that felt like a lot of information. I had a coupon. There's an address there. It seems like it's official, but it's like the guy trying to pass as if it's not automated. The emotional reaction just wasn't super positive, right? Like in the early stage tip, especially for a product that competes against, you know, HipChat or Slack or something like that, like what you could have done, you could have just said, why did you sign up? Like that's a much more powerful question. It's a one-liner, and you don't have to necessarily include all that information on your footer as if you're sending things through, you know, the marketing automation platforms, right? And then let's say in the worst case scenario, like, hey, I'm a really busy founder. I mean, you should be talking to your customers and doing things that don't scale. At least if you're at like that super early stage where you want to try to discover how to actually put together a drip campaign. But from an organization standpoint, you can even create another email that is not your primary email, but looks like it's your primary email. But just don't make it look that official. Then, like just the peanut butter and, jelly kind of examples, the importance of data-driven context. So I'm actually going to talk to you guys about like how I think I lost 20 pounds through Runkeeper and email. So I have all the data, and I went through like all my Gmail history. And this is just like an interesting process. So you can see here on the date, it's like 2012, right? Like October 2012, sign up for Runkeeper, ready, set, go. Very standard email, welcome. On that same day, right, like I get another email trying to activate me, saying, hey, you made it to the start line. It's time to get moving. And in general, like you sign up for these things, you want to lose weight, you're always motivated, but like you always procrastinate, right? It's like very common to just sabotage yourself. But here's what I did, which I think it's what actually connected, with their drip campaign. I actually signed up for a goal. I actually put, hey, I want to raise 5K by November. This was October. I didn't start racing into the other year. But that's the interesting part also, because they sent me another note saying, hey, we noticed that you haven't started to track your activation. And this was about 25 days after I signed up, yeah? So do you need a little help? And then after that, they sent me a notification to let me know that I have friends that are using the app, just to provide more social validation as I get used to them in my inbox, right? I do not want to unsubscribe to this. I'm not running. I'm being a lazy, fat bastard. But I want to have that emotional idea, that emotional intent that I'm actually striving to be a healthier person, right? And then, hey, welcome. This is a first installment of our monthly newsletter. They've realized that although I wasn't using the app, I was actually interacting with their content. I was checking out their website, so they automatically signed me up for their marketing content aside from the drip campaign, right? And then, hi there, we have just burned off 150 million slices of pizza. And then I probably had like eaten pizza that day, and I was just feeling really bad about not starting to run. So then I ran, and then I got this one email, one activity down. Yo, woo, awesome. And then after that, I got another email, which I think is where we should strive when we're doing drip campaigns, that had so much data about myself. So again, building that emotional connection, right? I ran 3 miles. I mean, by the way, that timing is like horrible, right? As you can see. But, I ran 3 miles, I did it in 38 minutes, I lost X amount of calories, and then suddenly I was like, oh, no, this is nice, cool. But things significantly changed for me when I actually received this other email from Withins. It's that Wi-Fi scale. And for whatever reason, Runkeeper never communicated that about their product, but they have an integration with Withins. So every time that I would actually go on my Wi-Fi scale and I actually had positive results, boom, I received an email from Runkeeper saying that I have reached 50% of my goal to lose 9 pounds. And that, on that moment, that app just completely hooked me, right? Because, it's very hard to do attribution when you're thinking about what actually brought the user, but this was actually through a partnership within a combination of a drip campaign. But suddenly, they were actually doing habit formation in my mind, right? I was on my Wi-Fi scale, losing weight, getting notifications, and using their product more and more. And then they're like, oh, congratulations, you beat a record. And then what is it that they try to do, right? When I start falling behind, not running that much, they're like, hey, they still encourage you when you're not losing weight, but you make progress again, they send another notification. And then this has been a year and a half of interaction. This is the first time they're trying to sell me their product, right? You see how long it took, right? Like they actually built that trust. And then that's the day that I actually bought Runkeeper, right? And SKU friends notifications, you can see that the email has improved a little bit. It's a little bit prettier. And they're doing cross-marketing promotional now, like, hey, we have this partnership, sign up for the band, you got this discount. And then, primarily, like, I think the nice part about it is like you guys can see we're talking about newsletters, we're talking about content, we're talking about transactional notifications, but they actually provide a way for the users to have a choice. This is very important as well. This is what we call ASM, Advanced Suppression Management. You need to have settings where your users can actually say, I want to only receive emails when I actually am on my scale. I want to receive only push notifications. I want to receive this. Best products out there have good notification settings like that. And then, this is, hey, it's been a while, and it's been a while. But this is pretty much the data, right? So holy shit, 200 pounds. Runkeeper comes in, connect with ins, that's the period where I lost the most weight because, the scale was there. And then I gained a little bit of weight recently. But you have everything there, right? Acquisition, you have activation, you have retention, you have referral, and you also have revenue when they offered the enterprise plan. There's also an opportunity for win back because as I stopped running, they kept saying me, hey, it's been a while. Do you remember those nice days when you were running 3-4 times a week? Another really good example that I think is Wealthfront. So when you actually try to withdraw money from your Wealthfront account, they file a support ticket through Zendesk, and on the reply address, by the way, never have a no reply address. That's a big, hey, don't talk to me, customer, fuck you. Do not do that, right? It's fantastic for your customers to actually reply to your email. That's one of the highest levels of engagement that the ISPs will look at. So the fact that to confirm that you want to withdraw something from your account, there's a security mechanism there because I'm logged into my email, but also I'm replying to a transactional email, so that builds their reputation up. Find that quite smart. The other thing is their referral program is actually very smart over email, right? So what happens is that every friend that you have that joins Wealthfront, you get $5,000 of free managed money. And then, as you invite people, it actually aggregates all that data in one single email, and it sends you a reminder that, hey, Lindsay actually completed and funded her account. Alexandre there is still, he created his account, but, still waiting for the money. And you sent an invitation to Fui. And since I was hitting that threshold of how much money I was able to get managed for free, I called them. So this is the best thing for a marketer. I actually calling my friends, say, hey, when are you going to put your money on your Wealthfront account so I can get more free money, and you as well, right? But this was just a very smart reminder, almost just like my pipeline of referrals for their product. Another interesting one, I think, is Airbnb, right? So they have this very good integration with Facebook that lets me know when, all right, 1 minute, that lets me know when a friend from Facebook has joined, and then I can actually make money out of that, right? Just get that notification. It's not that often. I actually like that email quite a lot. And then when it comes to weekly summaries, I actually find that we've been seeing phenomenal results from companies that just sent one email that is very data-driven to the individual level on a weekly basis. Tempo AI is a calendar app. I'm a big fan of that app. And then, I just cut the email there, but, prepare for your week. Like last week, you had 40 meetings. These are some of the people that you're going to be meeting soon. How many meetings were external, how many were internal, all the articles from all the people that are related, that you have met, people that you're about to meet, right? And the suggested follow-ups. Very personalized. There are so many different data points that are only relevant to me from the data they're obtaining from my calendar, but that makes me very actionable. I get that email Sunday when I'm getting ready for my week, and it matters to me. And then one extra important advice, right? If there's one big advice that we've seen in terms of what the difference between successful marketing teams versus teams that sometimes struggle, is that you have to have an emotional connection between developers, data scientists, and marketers, right? In one single team. That is the most important thing. Just working in collaboration with technical resources and marketing. Thank you.